Evelyn to Philip, July 23rd, 1944. Dearest darling, tonight for a change I have too much to say. Before I begin, let me say, however, that I did not write yesterday, and you will learn the whys and wherefores in good time. Yesterday morning I cleaned the house, went to Broad Street with Adele to shop, and then put her up to nap. During that time, I completed all my work and decided to go to Dot's, as I had mentioned in my previous letter. When Adele arose, I dressed her in her yellow pinafore and accessories, and dressed myself in that pretty print dress Sarah gave me last year, and departed at approximately 3:30. I called Dot when I left the house, and she promised to meet me at 60th and Market with the stroller, so I wouldn't have to carry Adele from the L to her house. Adele and I had to wait about 10 minutes for the 10th and Somerville bus. She was a lovely little lady throughout the entire trip of bus, subway, and L. It was the first time for her on both subway and L, and as I walked down the steps to the subway, I detected fright on her face. As we approached the trains, she hugged me real tight and yelled, "Mommy!" I assured her, and after a while she was okay. I made her watch the doors open and close, and this kept her busy for a few seconds. I got out to Dot's after 4 yesterday and didn't get back till about 15 minutes ago. Yes, dear, I slept over with the baby, 'cause Dot has all the conveniences necessary, and I had a wonderful time. Dot wouldn't let me do a thing, and it was just like a real vacation. Besides, Adele was extra special good, making page 2 me feel just grand. Shortly after arriving, both Dot and I fed the kids and had dinner ourselves. The kids played nicely till bedtime. Harold is a handsome boy and much faster at everything than Adele. He goes up and down a flight of steps by himself and says many more things than Adele. He tried to beat her up several times, and for a change she ran to me. I simply told her to give him a licking, and she promptly whacked his rear. Dot's grandmother and grandfather have an apartment across the street. They are away for the summer, and Dot set up her extra crib in the apartment. That is where Adele and I slept. Dot slept with me just so I wouldn't feel strange. Snuff went off to the movies, and we too talked a lot, and I talked about many things. She told me many things about herself and Snuff that I found very surprising. For instance, and this is strictly between you and me, she said that she has never derived any satisfaction from their sexual relations. She keeps trying to convince me that I must have another baby, and wound up by saying the following, that she too doesn't really want to have another baby, but that she does not believe in raising an only child and wants another child for that reason alone. Personally, I think she would prefer to have a little girl. I told her that I hope to have a baby someday when things were as I want them to be. She said she is perfectly satisfied with Snuff's income of $80, just as long as they don't have to skimp. Phil, both Dot and Snuff are fed up to the ears with conditions in the house, and I can assure you they are most disgusting. It's almost impossible to describe what it's like trying to raise a child with umpteen people advising and prescribing and ordering you what to do for it. Snuff is so disgusted that he hopes and prays he'll be drafted to put an end to his misery. Dot told me quite a bit about the family. That too is most disgusting. And Snuff told me that when this mess is over, if they have to live in a single room with a Murphy bed, he'll give up every luxury to have it. Snuff's folks paid them off for their interest in the house, some $500, and still, page 3, owes them about $200 for house furnishings, etc. Dot also told me that they have $1,000 in bonds, plus this and money in the bank to get off to a fresh start. I'm sure they'll get off to a good start once they are out of that house. I don't have to tell you what the house is like. We talked on, and 1 o'clock came. Dot drifted off, but I simply could not fall asleep. The roar of the trolleys along 60th Street annoyed me to death, and I sat up in bed for a good 2 hours before sleep overtook me. When I first readied Adele for bed, she realized that it wasn't home and cried, "Mommy, home." She slept like a little top during the night and the next afternoon. This morning, I put both kids in Dot's stroller and took a walk with them. It was very warm all day long, and I soon tired of walking. We let them play on the porch till 11:30, whereupon we took them up, bathed, and readied them for bed, and brought them down for lunch. After lunch and a short rest, they went off to bed. I rested during this time, taking a short nap myself. I dressed, made up, and read the Sunday paper. Adele awoke about 2:45, and we took Dot's father's car, Snuff, Dot, Hal, Adele, and myself, and rode over to see Dot's sister Frida, who bought one of those new homes in southwest Philly. Frida's baby was born 5 days before Adele. Frida tripped while holding her a few weeks ago, and the baby suffered a fractured leg. Her leg is in a cast and will be for 3 more weeks. She said the kid has been a wonderful patient. Back again to Dot's house, where we fed the page 4 kids and had dinner. Dot even polished Adele's nails for her first manicure. I left shortly after dinner. I didn't do much under the heading of excitement, but I enjoyed myself immensely. Just the opportunity to rest and forget about the house was enough to make me feel good. I could have written last night, but after Dot and I got started talking, we just seemed to forget about time. I certainly hope to see her more often in the future. She and I are very much alike in more ways than you can believe. You know, sweetheart, I've talked to many girls about their sex life, and invariably most of the girls have not been properly satisfied. I'm always proud and glad to say that my sex life was as perfect as I could have wanted it, and that I had been satisfied to the utmost. Phil, just talking to people in that vein has taught me how really unusual our love is. What surprised me even more was this. Dot says she could never be like me and that I want to be like you. She believes in individuality and wants to keep hers, regardless of what Snuff's is. She said she had to hand it to me for being the way I am. We talked of many, many things, and I could never put all of them down on paper. Someday we'll get to talk about everything, baby, and from the looks of the news, it should be soon. Oh, incidentally, I asked the Ouija board. Dot has one, the first one I ever saw, and I asked it when you would come home. I was disappointed in the answer, which was November 14th, 1945. I'm still hoping you'll be right and that I will see you in 44. It said the war will be over in July 1945. And now, dearest, I have several small things to do before I can hit the hay. Tomorrow is a working day, and I must be prepared for it. I love you so much, dearest one, and hope and pray that you will soon be with your loving F. Philip to Evelyn, 23 July 1944. My darling, finally received a letter from you. It was your V-mail of 10 July. You wrote it out in longhand because you thought you'd get some air that evening. Remember? I learned for the first time that Eddie is in France. I rather thought that such was the case, but your letter was the first confirmation I had of it. The letters he said he sent me were never answered because I never received them. However, I'll drop him a few lines tomorrow at his old address and trust to luck that he'll receive them. Remember, sweet, there is no point in worrying prematurely. Just have faith that he will come through okay. Nothing much doing around the orderly room today, so I asked Sergeant Murphy if I couldn't have my 24 hours off starting this afternoon. He said it would be okay. I took in the matinee at the theater. The picture was in our time, and I enjoyed it as much as you did, sweet. Later in the evening, I walked down to the snack bar with Klein, had a bite to eat, and loafed around the lounge reading every paper I could get my hands on. Seems the Germans are in a bit of a fuss after the attempt, page 2, on Hitler's miserable life. The latest developments over there may portend an imminent crack-up. At least I'm certainly hoping so. They had an entertainer in the snack bar, which is a large place with a platform at the end. There is a piano there, and the GIs, some of whom play pretty well, are always fooling around with it. Last night, though, a gal connected with the Red Cross came up from London to play for us. She is a very personable miss. I should have said Mrs. because she's married to an American officer, and played the piano to the utter edification of most of the assembled GIs there. Blues, jive, boogie-woogie, sweet stuff. She was adept at each and every one, and she played like she felt it. Know what I mean? I enjoyed it thoroughly, and Klein couldn't tear me away, although he tried 3 times during the course of the 2.5 hours she played. Oh yes, 2 of the guys from the base helped out on the trombone and drums. It was strictly a jam session and a lot of fun. I am thinking of a particular easy chair at this moment, darling, and of a certain sweet someone sitting in my lap, her head on my shoulder, the scent and feel of her intoxicating my senses and filling me plumb full of sugar candy. I love you so much, baby mine. My love to my littler baby and all from your adoring Phil. Female from Milt Brown, Phil's cousin, dated 7/25/1944. Dear Evelyn, sure was sorry I could not have answered you any sooner, but a lot has happened since I wrote you last. We took another boat, right, and it sure was hell. Worse than we had coming over. I sure have a bunch of letters to write now. I am feeling fine and hope this letter finds you all the same. How is Goldie getting along? At the present time, we are right up on the front lines, and it sure is hell here. They talk about Italy being muddy. Well, you should see this place. It is that sticky, smelly swamp mud. It practically rains here all the time. I have been out on 3 patrols so far looking for those lousy Japs, and you sure are all in after you come in. It's no sin to admit you're scared around here, for we all are, especially at night. We take turns standing guard at night, and you don't know when they will try to sneak up on you. They tried it the other night, and we gave them a good reception. Give my regards to all. Try to write you again soon. Sincerely, Milt.